Hello, hello. This is
Yeah.
Justo Artigas.
So we sit
May
down.
23rd of 2022. I am in Greenpoint on a beautiful day.
No, I start the thing.
Oh, I thought you just wanted me to say hello, Schwitz.
Have the opportunity in say. So yeah, here I am with my good friend Justo Artigas, an incredible creative in the middle of Greenpoint with a little bit of noise of helicopters and birds, nature, not nature. So I just want to say hi, Justo. Thank you so much for taking your time having this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for considering me for it. I am honored to be doing this, and I'm excited because I know it's going to be interesting, and you're going to ask challenging and cool questions. So this is my first podcast, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Let's roll right into it.
Let's
You know
do
how
this.
the deal is. Like the last person on my podcast, Dr. Truso, which was my professor in philosophy of love.
Wow.
I actually was going to talk to Justin today, but we modified it to Justo today, which both are good friends, but you're a very good friend of mine. So I'm just gonna kick off with the question that she asked me to ask you, which is, you wanna answer your phone?
Sure.
It happens all the time
Hey,
in this podcast, so this is very natural.
I will call them back later.
That's exactly what I said last time too. So the question was, when are you going to the Andy Warhol Museum next time?
I don't have a plan to go, but that's a very good question because I never get tired of looking at Andy Warhol. For some reason, it's I always find a nuance that I didn't know before, and so for that alone, you know what? I want to go and see anything he did with Mao or anything with the Chinese culture, and I want to find out why he did it because I actually don't know the why behind it.
It's a difficult task, right? Because it's so prominent in New York art.
Yes.
So, yeah. And do you go often to museums or galleries or shows, exhibitions in terms of cultural life?
I have started to go more often because during COVID, I realized how much I had at my fingertips and how much I wasn't using it. Having so much in New York and having it changed so much. And I am extremely influenced by art
Mm-hmm.
to a degree that I didn't realize how much until I didn't have it available to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, you know, I will make an effort that anytime there is something that I think I need to see, I'm going to go, whether I have the time or not, or whether I feel like it or not, I'm going to go see it because I know I'm going to get something out of it.
Since you're a designer in all reality, or I mean, very good advisor also for very big designers, we can get into this, your biography if you want to, but
Sure.
do you think you would draw a line between art and design, or would you draw more similarities or more differences?
I would say similarities because I, and this is something that at my more mature stage of my life, I have grown that I think it works best is when you concentrate on the similarities of things and on the positive instead of what divides us and on the negative, because you end up gaining. Everybody ends up gaining. So going to your question of similarities of fashion and art, it's there's a lot, I think, because they both come from a creative person. They both come from an expression of a feeling and a way to communicate that feeling to others through something visual. Art is something that is pleasing to the eye, that we feed off of because it calls our attention in some way, whether it's by the feeling that it evokes, by the colors that we see, by the shapes, and so forth and so on. And fashion is the same thing. I was bestowed with the talent that I have because I never went to school for fashion or for creative, and I found myself at a pretty early age in incredible positions and opportunities, and I have had a wonderful run, and for that I thank God. But I am a quick study, and I love anything to do with visual, with design, with fabric, with color, and so I love to learn. A day that I learn something new in general, but especially about my craft, it's a good day for me.
Would you have a definition for what art could be? So let me just point something out. We're here in between birds, which is what I would call nature.
Yes.
And we're in between helicopters, which is design. So it's art, artificial, trying to copy nature, and the helicopter copies nature in making the human to fly like a bird. I mean, it's just like I have to go as it comes, and that's what comes in my mind right now. And
That's a good question.
would you so let me ask maybe a concrete question then. Would you say art or design is the human's way to copy art, copy nature and make it artificial? So is that maybe the inference between the two?
No, I have a more organic approach to it, and a more an approach that integrates both more. And this is what I think. I think that it's not copying nature and making it artificial. I think it's
Learning from it?
it's an interpretation of it.
Right.
Of what we see, of what we feel, of something we want to convey to others, and in making it in a visual way.
Right.
And so it could be less or more subjective. But for example, I will draw onto one of my inspirations and a creative that I always it always leaves me in awe. And it's Rei Kawakubo.
So let's say, yeah, exactly. So let's say, what's the difference between a bird and a helicopter, for example?
They both fly. That's the similarity. Like
exactly.
I always and
I know,
but,
I like
the difference
that.
is that the bird is there's so much to it. The birds have been here before us, most likely. They will be here after us. They're single-handedly responsible for so many things. We wouldn't be here without birds. We eat them. They transport pollen. Everything happens because of them.
A
Without
helicopter wouldn't be able to transport the pollen, right?
No, so a helicopter is a minute thing. It's a minute function of what a bird could do, which is fly. The one good thing about it is that a bird can't necessarily carry us. A helicopter can. You know,
exactly.
A bird can't necessarily shoot and kill somebody. A helicopter can.
Right.
A bird can't necessarily film something from top. A helicopter can.
Right.
But we're always with a bird's eye view. You know, so
right. Very good. I love
so we draw from nature, we get inspired by it, and hopefully what we do is create something that serves our humanity and that serves our race for something good and something positive, to evolve, not to take away.
that. And for example, like, you know, we learn from birds, but we're not exploiting the birds. We're giving back to a certain extent, even though we might have learned from them how to fly. I didn't know.
Ideally, we would give back to birds,
Right.
Because why wouldn't we? We
Exactly.
keep taking from them so much every day. So it's
Selfish,
natural
right?
it's natural that we make the water available for them, the places they can feed, let them fly wherever they need to fly, because there's a purpose for all of it. But you know, unfortunately, our race is a little selfish and not the most evolved. So we take more than we give. But
For
as a
the
norm,
moment, at least. Maybe,
yeah, and as a
right?
norm, but there's a lot of givers which I
Right.
always get inspired by, and those are the people that I try to emulate, or that I try to look up to.
Right.
That I look up to.
What's your definition of a giver? Like,
A giver, a person that unconditionally does good for others in an equal and fair way, that does not take themselves and their purpose or their feelings or their needs into consideration before anything else, that innately likes equality for all, that likes to give what they have if they don't need it all.
Do you think it's still a giver if he asks something back after he gave?
I am sorry?
Is it still a giver if he asks something back afterwards he gave?
If there's a good purpose what he's asking back, and if there is good intentions, of course it's a gift still.
To Dr. Truso in my last podcast, I talked about good arguments, which kind of goes a little bit in that, which is we kind of agreed on being, if you want to make a good argument, right, like you want to be logically correct, you have to act with empathy.
Always.
So you have to try to at least try
feel
to
what the other
get
person
into
feels,
the other person,
right? Of course, and I think
which is almost impossible, but at least
it's
showing,
primordial
yeah,
to try at least.
Exactly.
Because if you don't put yourself in the other person's shoes, you're not doing a full job of what you're trying to do. You know, so it may or may not be easy, but that's not the point. The
Right.
point is that at least you try, even if you don't achieve it all the time.
And I know that you are a very spiritual person. You introduced me to Santeria. You introduced me to...
No, sorry, I correct
this
you on
is-
that.
Okay,
No,
go
no,
ahead
no,
and
no.
correct me. But you
No.
are a spiritual person.
Yes,
I would
I am.
like you to express a little bit what your spirituality is in that sense.
Okay, so as I said at the beginning of this interview, I always knew since I was little that I attributed everything I had, and after I started really noticing and practicing on my talent that God gave me, which is my style, my ability to communicate it to others, and I have done incredible work. So I had no choice but to believe that I have talent, and since I never went to school, I knew that it was given to me by a higher power that wanted me to have it for a special reason, for a specific reason, and it was to spread it around. And so that's what started me believing and connecting with spirituality. The reason why I so strongly said no, I introduced you to Santeria is because I never believed in killing anyone.
Okay.
I am here. I am an envoy of the light. I am here to give light to all those who need it or who want it. And this time around, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to
Right.
create and to give beauty and to
Inform, maybe? To some
maybe
extent?
to those who want to be informed. But when I first met
Humbly informing, so to speak.
yes, when I met one of an entity that I look up to as my mom, or is one of the people that I look up to the most, she said to me, you are here to give light to those that you meet with your smile.
Okay.
And so if you don't smile, we have a problem, my son. You can't do your job. And isn't that a pity, having such a
It
great
would
job?
be a big pity, yeah.
So that's when I knew how beautiful my job was,
Right.
really, and
Never
how
give
lucky
up
I
on
am.
hope in that sense
Yes,
either,
and so that my talent is just a vehicle or a conductor for me to give that light that I
And
give
it's a
to
blessing
others.
you found that talent.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I feel
It's hard to talk about something like this, understand.
every day I thank God and I feel blessed for the talent that I have, for having been put in the places that I have, for having been given the opportunity to work with people that I have worked, for having met people like you, like people that I get inspired by. And it's just
Do you think you can have people that you will reject getting any inspiration from?
yes. I
Yeah.
have few, but I do.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's a human property,
Of course,
probably, right?
of course, because and the ones that I don't get inspired by is because I cannot get, as talented as they might be, I choose not to engage because I cannot get past their selfishness, their crassness, their dislike for
But there
others,
might
and their,
still be a little light in them, but you maybe are.
it's not the
I mean,
point.
I really struggle with that very
It's,
very question.
I won't name names because it's
Right,
not
exactly, yeah.
not
Of
classy,
course,
and
yeah.
I am a gentleman.
Exactly.
But there's artists, for example, that I know are extremely talented, that I know their work is good, but I just can't get myself to listen to it because they're such horrible people that I just refuse to get involved in anything like
Right.
that.
But they will find their alliance, like their
Of
alliances,
course.
so they
Of
will be
course.
fine in their sector, but
Yes.
it's not your bubble.
No, I cannot make everything my job or my mission.
Exactly.
So how I was explained that we all there's one life, okay? We all get to it the same. The only difference is the trajectory and the time that it will take us, and that depends on us and the way we behave,
Right.
and how we conduct ourselves, which to me makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so that person that we were talking about, yes, will elevate and be a wonderful person that doesn't need to offend anyone or take from anyone, because they have enough and they have been bestowed with talent and great talent, but they don't understand that yet. They might understand it in this life or not, but that's on them. They have to do the
Okay.
work to get there.
So, a question that I already asked twice, and maybe I will ask everybody the same question because I kind of like that question, is if you could ask a question to anyone, or if you could ask any question to anyone, who would the person be and what would the question be? I know it takes a while.
No, I know exactly the one, because I have always asked
okay,
it. I
good.
already got some of the answers, and it's still fascinating to me. I would ask Hitler why.
Who would you ask?
Hitler.
Oh.
Why?
Oh, well, that's a super short.
Not
And
necessarily.
good. I mean, like
Why?
reduced to the maximum, so to speak.
No, but
as a
why?
question. Well, yeah, right.
Why? I know all the reasons. I've read all about it. I am fascinated by it, but why exactly? What made you get there to
Pick the brain of such.
yes, of such
Yeah, wow.
of such low vibration, because I want to understand, because it was a specific combination of, which is one of the worst combinations that we could have, is it's high intellectual and very low spiritual.
Right.
So that is the volatile combination of something like that to
What
happen.
do you think the answer would be?
The answer would be that he's so low spiritually that he could not see the difference, that he could not see reality, which we're all the same.
But if you can't see it, he wouldn't be able to give you this answer, right?
Right. So I would have to ask him when he has elevated enough, which hasn't happened yet,
Yeah.
in order for him to give me the answer. So far he doesn't know.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, it's a hot topic, and it's the fruit fry.
But then again, I'm Latin and Caribbean, so I deal with hot.
Right. I mean, it's a fruit fly example for almost every philosophical
Thank you.
theory,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you always use Holocaust and World War
Yes,
II
yes.
issues in order
Yes.
to try to make sense of something
Yes.
that is a perfect radical counter.
Contraction of yes.
Counter argument for why not, for example,
not?
right? So I don't know.
Which brings me,
go ahead.
may I say something? So which brings me to have something very simple, which is so simple to practice, so simple to understand it, but yet so difficult for us to actually do it, which is, we don't need to take anything away from anyone. The universe will give us anything we want. All we have to do is ask and have the intention in it and visualize it. But it doesn't mean taking anything away from anyone. It doesn't mean oppressing anyone. It doesn't mean undoing anything of anyone's. It just, there's a space for and energy,
Right.
and riches for all of us.
You believe in good, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's seek, ask and it will be given to you.
Yes.
Seek and you will find.
If it's-
knock and the
if the
door
intention
will
is
be open
positive.
to you. That was my question.
Yes,
you think
that-
there
that's-
is?
yes, there
You
is.
can self-doubt to ask for something you're not entitled to, maybe in this.
I think that not entitled means that you want either too much, or you want something taken away from somebody, or you want to undo somebody's something, or you want to not something. When that is involved, that means that it's not pure, it's not directly involved with light work. When you wish something for the good of yourself, but it doesn't hurt anyone else, then that's a good intention.
Right.
So for that, you will receive it, because if you're willing to do the work or do the walk that it takes to get there,
Right.
you weren't gonna get it no matter what. But it's, if you ask for something that you're not willing to do anything for, or that it requires somebody suffering for it, or that it requires somebody being oppressed, or something that is unnecessary, that you will not get. Or if you get it, because there is possibilities that you get it or make it happen, but you will always pay for it, you have to give it back, and it's going to take you time and energy, so that's unnecessary. And I am lucky enough to understand that where I am because a lot of people don't, and I experience that every day.
Exactly. And talking of experiences, let me ask you this. We know each other for long enough. We
Yes.
talked very, you know,
Yeah, we have
profoundly
conversations
about,
that I don't have with a lot of people, and that not a lot
Yeah.
of people are able to understand, and vice versa.
And we know we both went through pain,
A
and
lot.
we went through happiness a lot as well.
Yes, sir.
Would you be able to say what your biggest pain and your biggest happiness was in your life? You know, it's a very personal question, but it's something you
Be
would
my
like
pleasure,
to
yes.
share.
My biggest pain was losing my mom. My biggest happiness was having my mom.
Oh wow, that's just the best answer ever.
I
This
yeah,
answer.
I have. I am one of the most privileged human beings because I knew this, but I have been told that I have parents like everyone would want and few get. Sorry that I'm a little.
No, it's. I mean, I know it's a
I'm
very
being
personal
speaking from my heart.
question.
Yeah, so,
exactly.
and I
That's why
don't
we
talk
have you
about
here,
this
right?
a lot. So I hope that this enlightens someone or it clears any doubts for some people, and that would make me happy. If it helps someone, it would be worth it for me to share this pain. So I knew that I was always very lucky because the support that I had from my mom and my dad, the kind of parents I had, there was times of my life where we didn't have much, but I always felt rich. I always felt like a king. I never felt poor. I still never have. I don't know what that is because of what was instilled in me by my parents, but especially my mom. And so for that, I am eternally grateful. I never thought I could make it when my mom wasn't around because before I knew spirituality, she was my God and she was my compass. That was what I would tell anyone. And I still do. But
Unconditional love, so to speak.
it is
right?
unconditional love, respect, guidance, anything that I ever needed before I knew I needed it, it was there from her. I cannot begin to put it into words how I would not be who I am and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that.
Right.
And I recognize it. So I didn't think that I could deal, and I knew it would be great pain and would struggle much when I didn't have her around. But funny enough, and as I always have been surprised by God and by the light, and which is the same, and by my mom herself,
Right.
I found spirituality right around the time that my mom passed, and I know that she went to a great place, that she is in a great place, being happy, doing work that she loves doing, and it's as much around as she was or more than when she was here,
Right.
physically present. And so then my challenge became being able to pass that information down to my most loved ones, who are my father and my brother.
Passing on.
That, that knowledge, and for them to understand that they don't need to be upset because my mom is in a great place,
Right.
better than she was here. She suffered a lot on this earth, and so they don't need to be in mourning. They don't need to be
Right.
depressed, but they are not ready to receive that information. So that is my challenge right now as we speak.
Right. Let me ask you one question in between real
Sure.
quick. Didn't your mom have a nickname for you? Did she call you something like...
No, but she had. So my name is Justo Manuel Artigas.
But when she called you, hey, my baby, or something
No,
like that? No?
she called me. It was how she said my name and which name she used that I knew what was coming.
Oh.
Yes. So it was.
So it was coded within
So,
your given names.
for example, I always got in trouble, not because I was I never was a bad or malicious kid or person, but I was mischievous because I always liked to be busy. I didn't like to do what others do. When I was younger, I acted older. As I get older, I act younger. So
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
kid that never grew up. And you know this, Sandra,
Well-
because you're similar. So I just said it. So
Everybody knows already. So it's
yeah,
okay.
so exactly. So My mom always was amazing at dealing with me and going to my level for that. So I remember wanting things to play that were like not normal, and my mom was like, "Are you sure you want this?" And if I would say yes, I wanted syringes when I was about 5, but they needed to be glass. They needed to have needles, and they needed to maybe bleed cobalt blue, one of them or two, because that's what I saw somewhere and I wanted them. She said, "Are you sure with needles?"
Right.
She said, "If you poke anyone or yourself, I'm going to rust it and poke you again with it."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's
how strong of a mom you had.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I knew that I had to be careful with those needles.
Exactly.
But she would give them to me.
Wow.
Yes.
That's perfect trust in all
Yes,
reality.
yes, and make me trust. So I needed that. So if I was doing something or I had done it, she would be like, "Justo Manuel."
So you already knew what.
Yeah, Justin was, "Oh, okay, here comes the
Yeah,
cue one. He
yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
done anything bad today."
It's funny, I had a similar actually
Yes.
experience with my sister. Like when she called me Sandy, I knew like everything's
Oh,
cool and
good and
playful.
dandy.
When it was Sandro, it was a big problem. Like you already know, here comes the
It was
freak.
Sandro Schweitzer.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're gonna pay for this one. Hell is
Yeah,
coming.
you go a little fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was that. That's how I understood. But-
Interesting. Yeah, I like that actually.
My mom was most loving, and I mean, people tell me all the time that they're taken by the love I have for my mom and the love she had for me, but it was shown in with diminutives or little things that are norm for others. It's just that's not us.
It will lead me into a question that just came up as well, which is, we're not dads, we might not be dads, but we will never be moms. That's pretty much a given, right?
Yes.
Do you think that's a
definitely.
regret because you're so much affiliation to your mom,
Not at
regretting
all.
not even being able to
Not
be
at
a
all.
mom?
Not at
right?
all,
I mean,
because,
you already am a mom, but like,
Yeah,
there's-
no, but exactly to your point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an actual mom because I cannot give birth, because I probably so forth and so on. But I have taken people under my wings that I have
Right.
acted like
motherly love.
yes,
as
with
far as you
yes,
can
because
interpret
I
it.
offered to them what was offered to me by my mom, and since I
Right.
had such an amazing and
That is
unique one,
beautiful.
I am able to give that.
Right.
So for me,
Because you
that's
experienced
fulfilled.
it, you learned it, the easy and
That my
the
mom
hard
taught
way,
me, and that is
yeah.
great value. And I have been told by actually higher beings that I work with and that I communicate with, that yes, I did have that good of a mother and
Right,
that
right,
good
right,
of parents.
right, right, right.
So no, I'm not exaggerating when I say wow. And so what I am, who I am, is because of that upbringing and that nurture. And so that I'm able to pass on whether I give birth or not. It doesn't matter with my sexuality.
Right.
Doesn't matter with my gender. I'm going to pass it on no
Right,
matter what
exactly.
to whoever is there
so
to receive
because
it.
you received it so much for your mom that
Yes.
you're getting so
I
close
can spread
to being
that
a
around.
mom. Exactly.
Yes,
without
yes,
being
without
physically able,
getting
being a mom.
pregnant, which
Exactly.
is nuisance. And
stuff, right?
yes. So I commend women for that. By the way, thank you for doing that, and I
Yeah,
respect
right.
you much for that.
Yeah,
All the work
it's,
that you do.
What
Yes.
would we do without him, right?
We wouldn't be here.
And so let's just roll into the last question. And I'm gonna speak to you don't know who it is, so I'm gonna tell you who my next guest will be. It's also a good friend of mine. Let me just be correct so that he's not gonna get upset about introducing him the wrong way, and then you will formulate a question for that next person, right? So he has been practicing mortician for 10 years.
Wow, wonderful.
He has been in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he is an artist as well. And
Wow, what a
he
combination.
likes flea markets. Yeah, it's a very
There's a
interesting
Renaissance
person.
man right
Yeah.
there. It sounds like to me.
Yeah. So would you have a question I should ask him first?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I commend you, and I would love to meet you, because the first two things that Sandro said you did, which is go to war and be a mortician, are something that I could never do, because I don't have the courage to do that, or the
Right.
It doesn't. I don't have what it
mind
takes.
frame there.
So,
but you are an artist. He's an artist.
yes.
There
So
you find the
I want to meet someone who's that multifaceted. And how are you able to? So my question to you is, how are you able to turn on and off those very different and many facets that you have and are able to express, and apparently you have been successful at. If you were a mortician for 20 years, you must have been good.
10, I think.
Oh, 10.
Yeah,
If
but
you were,
still good enough,
if
right?
you,
It's terrible,
if
right?
you got, if you went to actually a country that we were at war with, you must have been a good soldier and have a good
Right,
record. If you, and now you're an artist and people pay attention to you, you must have something that is, it's something to offer in that realm. So I wanna know from you how you turn it on and off, and how you can connect and disconnect at your will.
Like the multi-layered
Yes, and how to access them.
spread
Yes.
to put it into one
And make it a
being
reality.
and- exactly.
Yes.
I will ask that
I'm looking forward to knowing.
right away. Justo, I love you.
Thank you. I
so
love you.
much.
Thank you for doing this.
That was it for today. And we're done.
Great. That was good, no?
It was.